Is up, everybody? Welcome back to my podcast. Whether you're listening on YouTube, Facebook, actually, I do have Facebook. Follow me Beyond the Stats on most of social media. I know for a fact I have a TikTok, Instagram. Make sure you guys follow. If you guys are listening to YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you guys listen to your daily podcasts, welcome. And I hope you guys enjoy our podcast today. So what do we have today? Of course, we talk about the NFL. Biggest news of today. I know it's a late day, so I'm trying to get all the news that happened today. Alex Smith retires. I think that's some of the biggest news right now that could possibly happen. I know that there was talks with him and reports saying that he was going to probably go to Jacksonville. I know that their head coach talked very good about him. And deservedly so. I think Alex Smith for the last 15 years, 16 years if you count all his career entirely, he's been one of the keystone franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. I know that he hasn't had the playoff success, but I look at him like a Phillip Rivers, obviously not as regular season stats accomplishments, but somewhere in that range where he's always in the talk, always in the playoffs-ish, always going to get it to the first, second, third round possibly, right? And I think that's just something that we have to talk about and we have to give credit to. I know he won Comeback Player of the Year this season, and I think that's something huge. I mean, if we all saw the catastrophic injury that he had and the fact that he was able to continue to progress and make a pretty good season. I'm going to go over his stats real quick. Last season, played 8 games, started in 6, right? 5-1. That's phenomenal. You have the amazing defense. They're not asking you to do too much, and that's something that you have to take into account whenever you look at his stats this season, right? 1,500 yards, 6 TDs, 8 interceptions. Now that the 6 TDs to the 8 interceptions, not the best. Actually, yes, they're not the best. But you have to take account, he did miss the entire last season. He was coming off of his, catastrophic injury. He was taking all these surgeries that he was required for him in order to him to be great. So I just think that, especially in that offense where you're not asked to do too much, you're not asked to throw the ball like Aaron Rodgers, you're not asked to throw the ball like Russell Wilson, even though Russell Wilson asked to be able to throw the ball like that. It's just something that you always have to take into account, especially when we're talking about Alex Smith, where they went to the playoffs. Once again, his record is 5-1, right? And I think that's absolutely something incredible when you have to talk about the NFL. I think he could have possibly continued playing football if he truly wanted to. I know that there were some reports saying, he was going to go to Jacksonville or he wasn't going to Jacksonville, but that's just something that you always have to take into account, especially when you look at, the marketplace for quarterbacks. You still have Teddy Bridgewater, who could be relatively cheap if you want to trade for him because they have, an abundance of quarterbacks. They just traded for Sam Darnold. We don't know what they're going to do in their draft. I believe they have let me check real quick. Carolina Panthers have the number 8th overall pick, right? Are they going to trade back? Are they going to put all their pieces around Sam Darnold like he deserves? What are they going to do? And that's just something that you always have to take into account. So I think Teddy Bridgewater would be really cheap. If you really wanted to if you want to spend a lot on a quarterback, maybe Jimmy G. So it's just something different, especially when you look at where the Panthers are and where the Washington football teams are, right? Washington football team, you're in the number 19th overall pick in the first round. What are you going to do there? Right? It's projected to have 5 quarterbacks taken in the first 10 picks. That is something that's it's never been done before. So I think that's something, it's unprecedented, and I think it has the validity of being true. You have Jacksonville taking one quarterback, that's 1. Jets taking a quarterback, they have to because they have no current quarterback right now. That's number 2. San Francisco 49ers, they have already shopped for Jimmy G. They're shopping him around right now, and they literally gave up the farm and their entire future just to move up from 12 to 3 with the Miami Dolphins. So that's something huge that the Miami Dolphins definitely took advantage of, but they have to take a quarterback. You can't justify moving up that high and not taking a quarterback unless Kyle Pitts goes into the Hall of Fame, and even then, we don't know if you're going to have the same success if you don't have to take a quarterback, right? It's a tight end quarterback. Obviously, the quarterback is definitely the number 1 position in American sports, right? You have number 4, Falcons. They might take a quarterback. They might not. We're already up to 3 quarterbacks taken. Are they going to trade back? Are they going to draft Kyle Pitts? It's just something that's very interesting. Are they going to roll with Matt Ryan, even though Matt Ryan has been an up and down roller coaster and really been disapproving for a while now? You get number 5, Cincinnati. They're not taking a quarterback, so that's still 3. We're at 3.5 quarterbacks taken. We have number 6. Do they believe in Tua? We're gonna get to this later, but there's reports that they're going to possibly move back. That's something huge that nobody's probably expecting. You have number 7, Detroit Lions. Are they gonna believe in Jared Goff? I mean, we saw what the Los Angeles Rams thought about him, even though Jared Goff took them to a Super Bowl. So that's something that you always have to take into account, especially where you are, Detroit Lions. If you step back, you have too many holes to fill. It's just better to take a step back, acquire more picks, and definitely build up your team like you should. You have Carolina Panthers. Are they going to take a quarterback? Denver Broncos, they should take a quarterback. So it's just incredible. And obviously there are going to be some teams that trade up to get their wanted players in the top 10. So I think, probably 5 quarterbacks are going to be taken in the first round, in the first top 10 picks. Is your quarterback there going to be there? Is the number 6th overall graded quarterback in the NFL draft going to be your savior for the Washington football team? I mean, it's not crazy. We saw, there's always diamonds in the rough. We just saw Justin Herbert, who had an amazing rookie season. Nobody really expected him. Nobody thought he was going to be the projected number 1 overall pick. Otherwise, he would have gone number 1 overall. So it's just something that you always have to look at. There are always diamonds in the rough. The question is, can you find those diamonds, especially in the rough? And where are you going to go from there? You have your Washington. You signed Heineke to I think it was a 1-year deal. I'm not fully sure. But that's not your franchise quarterback. You're not paying him like your franchise quarterback. And what's your overall goal? Where do you intend to go from here? You have a very, very good defense with the Washington football team. Where exactly are you trying to go? You are a quarterback away. You have pretty good offensive pieces as well. I'm not going to lie. You have Logan Thomas. You have the speed on both sides. You just signed a wide receiver who is literally one of the fastest wide receivers that we have right now in the NFL. So it's just something that you always have to take for account. Where is the projection of your team? Where is your future? If you're the GM, where do you want to go with this team? Right? The number one question is the quarterback. That's beyond a doubt. Right? This is something that has to be addressed whenever you talk about the Washington football team, who have the roster around the quarterback except for the quarterback position. And you have other teams who have the quarterback who don't have the roster around. You have Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. They found their franchise quarterback. The question is, can they protect him? And at number 5, are they going to take Pitts? Are they going to take Sewell? Are they going to trade back? They have too many holes to fill. You just lost AJ Green. You just lost John Ross. And I know most people are going to say, well, they weren't very good wide receivers at this point in their time. And I agree. They weren't good. They were most likely not playing. I know John Ross struggled with injury history. I know AJ Green recently started struggling with injury history, but there's still names on the roster, people that you can throw at in practice. And, I know that they were injured, but they're still there. The presence of Joe Burrow, knowing that, hey, maybe this guy's going to come back. And, this just overall certainty that they're at least on the roster. Right? They didn't sign Kenny Golladay. Are they going to take a wide receiver at number 5? I don't think so. I don't think they should. I think if you're going to take a player in the number 5 spot, you should probably take Pitts or Sewell. And that's just absolutely necessary. You cannot have a Ferrari and no good tires. It's not going to work. You're going to end up crashing. It rains, you're going to crash. It's sleet, you're going to crash. There's too many factors needed, right? It's not all about speed. It's not all about the names. It's not about all the offense, right? We see this with Dallas, where I think they're considering trading up to take Kyle Pitts, which would probably be one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever seen in my entire life, especially coming from Dallas, which obviously doesn't surprise me, but why? You need defense. You need offensive line. You need a running back. You need so many more pieces. You just got Dak Prescott. The offensive line has not been able to stay healthy, stay intact for the past few years, right? Amari Cooper, that was a bad decision. He's a come and go wide receiver. I understand why Oakland gave him up now. And they got a first round pick in return. So that's something that was huge. But you have to look at the players and you have to reevaluate where you are in this draft. Kyle Pitts will not save your team. We saw what happened against the freaking the Browns. We saw what happened against the Falcons. We saw all these teams score a bajillion points on the Cowboys, and they were able to somewhat come back. But you cannot have a shootout every single game. It's a recipe for disaster. Because what you do is you put pressure on your offense. You understand that your defense is not going to stop anyone. And that's the problem that we see with the Dallas Cowboys. We saw Dak Prescott trying to maneuver out of the pocket. Now, it wasn't a dirty hit. It wasn't him making more effort. It wasn't anything different in the Dallas Cowboys, that game against the Giants where he got hurt. But the whole point is you're asking your quarterback to put the weight on his shoulders and say, you know what, I have to score 45 points, 46 points because my defense cannot stop anybody. I think they were not able to be as aggressive as they should have been in the free agency. Now, if you look at the free agents that were still here, there's still a lot of top free agents that are still available, especially on the defense. We just saw, somebody got released. Sheldon Richardson, sorry, completely blanked out right there. Sheldon Richardson just got released. I know that they were kind of interested. Are they going to go for him? You still have Casey Hayward. You have Steven Nelson, who was a pretty good cornerback from Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if he re-signed or not, but definitely keep an eye on that. Brian Poole, he's still out there. You have Villanueva. He was visiting the Ravens today. It's just, you have to address so many. Melvin Ingram from the Chargers. There's so many pieces that you need to address. You still have Justin Houston, KJ Wright. They're both 32. You have Olivier Vernon, who's 30, who's an edge rusher. You have, I wouldn't sign Malik Hooker because he just came from an injury. But there's still something where you can talk about. You can still something that you can consider. You have Geno Atkins, K'Wan Shorts, Jurrell Casey. There's so many players. Everson Griffin, even though they already tried that, they signed him, it didn't work. That's fine. You have Kenny Vaccaro, Quan Alexander. He's still available, I believe. So it's just so many. Jason McCourty is still available. Breeland is available. It's just so many. Ryan Kerrigan. Right? I know he's a little bit older, but it's still necessary. It's something that's necessary on your team. And I don't know what the Dallas Cowboys are expecting. I don't understand how they expect to have the same players just play better again, right? Without external motivation, without anything that definitely can consider being different. I don't think it's going to work. I think if you look at the NFC East, especially, right, specifically the NFC East, you have the Washington football team who absolutely destroyed the Cowboys both times. You understand that their defense lines up better against their offense than the Cowboys defense lines up to the offense. Like, I think Heineke, right, who did a number on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think he would go crazy against the Cowboys. He might have a losing record. He might not be a good quarterback. But I think especially if you have a defense that bad, you can definitely put up the points needed, right? And you can definitely suppress the points on offense because you have the defense. You're getting better on defense. You signed the cornerback from the Bengals, who was a really good corner. So it's just definitely something that you have to understand. Giants are trying to improve. They're getting Danny Dimes some weapons. They got him John Ross, who has not been healthy, but potentially can turn things around. Maybe it was the Bengals and the whole situation, Cincinnati. You have Kenny Golladay, who just got signed. You still have the tight ends, the studs. The offense has been improved. You look at Danny Dimes. He should be progressing. I know that he's in the age where he has to progress at this point. Otherwise, they won't re-sign him. But it's just something that you always have to look at, and where you are, you have to reevaluate yourself. You cannot keep on showing up to the same place expecting the same results. That's insanity, right? Showing up the exact same way and doing the exact same things and expecting a different result. It's not going to work. And I think that the Dallas Cowboys are very insane right now. And I know that we're kind of off topic because we were talking about Alex Smith, but the whole point was, Alex Smith absolutely showed that even him, who's limited, who's nervous, whose head coach was nervous to put him in the game, justifiably so, because he just came off of a catastrophic injury. They were able to put points on the Dallas Cowboys. They were able to put points on the Giants. They were able to not keep them from scoring. So it's just something that you always have to look at. And I think that the Washington Redskins, football team, so sorry about that, that they did something, they finally did the right move. And I understand that Alex Smith might not understand, but I definitely agree 1,000% with Ron Rivera. I think that if something had happened to Alex Smith, nobody would have ever considered or questioned or, bad talked Alex Smith, justifiably so, because he's an athlete and his mindset is I can walk, I feel like I can do what I'm doing, and I want to be on the field, and it's up to the people around him, especially the head coach, to keep him from getting into harm's way. And God, I knock on wood, and I'm glad that he didn't get hurt. But had he gotten hurt, the blame would have been on Ron Rivera. Why would you put him out there? Why would you have him out there? I'm sure the people that love Alex Smith would be very furious that he was out there, right? He's an athlete. He's not going to protect himself. His main focus is to win games. And that's 100% correct. But you have to always look at both sides. And I think Ron Rivera finally decided, I was so nervous. Dwayne Haskins was drafted in the first round, expected to take the next step. And he was so bad, he was forced to put Alex Smith into the game. And that's absolutely, that speaks about how bad Dwayne Haskins was. And there goes a first round pick just wasted by the Washington football team. But it's just something that you always have to look at. And I think that the Washington football team did the right decision. I think Alex Smith, who's made a bunch of money on the field, who is still going to be I think I've heard nothing wrong. I've never met anybody who's ever talked anything wrong about Alex Smith. Obviously, there's the lack of postseason success, but that just doesn't affect who you are as a person. And I think Alex Smith is beloved in the NFL, by the NFL players, by the NFL fans. And I think if you're a Chiefs fan, San Francisco fan, it's just something that you always have to consider, loving. Obviously, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer, and I'm never going to make the case for that. I think he's been a really good quarterback, and by the reason why I say a cornerstone a cornerstone person in the NFL is because he's always been in the conversation in some way or somehow, right? You have Phillip Rivers, you have the controversy when he was first drafted, you have the same controversy with Alex Smith, especially now, right? It wasn't too much controversy, but the San Francisco 49ers valued or viewed upon Alex Smith much more in a better light than Aaron Rodgers. And I know that's something that Aaron Rodgers still holds in his craw because he was expected to be drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, and that's who he wanted to be drafted by, and the San Francisco 49ers. So it's just something that you always have to consider looking at, and just definitely understanding on how and what is absolutely necessary, especially when you look at what is going on in the NFL draft, what is going on in the future. And right, so Aaron Rodgers still making still going strong, already has a Super Bowl, is definitely going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. And when you have him being disappointed that Alex Smith got chosen instead of him, it's definitely something that puts Alex Smith on the radar, right? So that's from the very beginning. And always, we saw him with the Kansas City Chiefs, going to the Super Bowl. I believe he got benched for Colin Kaepernick that year whenever Colin Kaepernick took the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. So it's just something that's always So it's just something that's always been around Alex Smith. Alex Smith's always been around. He's definitely never been the guy to win consistently. He's never been a Tom Brady. He's never been a Patrick Mahomes. But understand on where he was and what he was. He was consistently good, right? Not great, just good. And that's something that you always have to consider when there's quarterbacks who are not consistently good, who are not even consistently okay. They're below average most of the time. So it's just something that you always have to consider and definitely look into. So I thank Alex Smith for his service playing in the NFL. I definitely will always be a fan. And like I said, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Alex Smith. So that's definitely something that we have to consider and applaud, because there's so many quarterbacks. We saw Dwayne Haskins, right? First year already blow his whole chances up with the Washington football team, who are desperate for a quarterback. So it's just something that you always have to look at, and you always have to appreciate those quarterbacks and those people who understand where they are, understand that they are a professional, who have to act professional all the time. I don't know if there's been any off the field issues with him. I would not be speaking so highly of him if there was, or that I was aware of, right? So that's just something that you always have to consider moving. So I think, once again, I thank Alex Smith for his bringing so many good memories to the NFL, and I wish him the best, and I'm excited to see what he does with his future. Moving on, we have to talk about it. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence. What? there was an article from Sports Illustrated. I think that's the one that published the article about, his coach saying that if he had to step away, he would. His dad saying that his end all be all is not winning the Super Bowl. And it's just something, his wife saying that, football is not everything in life. And, it's such a complicated topic. I've seen so many retired athletes, so many analysts applaud this kind of mindset, and I just don't get it. You're an NFL player. You're going to be an NFL professional. You're going to be in the first overall pick. What are they raving about? They say that, you're great or higher than you're graded alongside with John Elway and Andrew Luck, and it's just, this is not something I want to hear from my quarterback. If I was Jacksonville, I would seriously consider trading the number 1 overall pick. Just because it doesn't make sense. If Miami wants to move up and give me all the draft picks, absolutely, by all means, do it. Because I wouldn't draft him. And I know that this is going to be controversial, and I know most people are going to be like, whoa, it's true, he can't just live and breathe football, but it's just, and this year, right? This is not just Trevor Lawrence. This year has been, I don't know what's gotten in. Has it been the quarantine? Has it been people, the football players just, overthinking, or having too much free time on their hands? We saw the cornerback or safety, I believe, from the Dallas Cowboys publicly saying, oh, whoa, I can't give my full effort all the time, right? What? We have Mike McCarthy. I can't believe it. Just realized the connection that they're both in the Cowboys. But I have Mike McCarthy, right, lying publicly, saying that he lied on his interview to get the job for the Dallas Cowboys, saying that he, sat down and watched all the film from all the teams and understanding the schemes and how he was now very well equipped to go against offensives, to be equipped to be like the offenses in the NFL, and then literally by himself publicly admit, after being the one who said that he did all the studying, publicly admit that he didn't. I don't understand what's going on. Are these people just not having filters? Are they don't care anymore? Is it just, okay, I signed the contract, or, oh, okay, I'm going to be a number 1 overall pick, I don't care about this anymore? What is going on? Right? We've seen what happens in the NFL. If you're not fully committed, it's not going to work. Right? If you want to have fun, by all means, go have fun. I know Trevor Lawrence, you're going to be a great quarterback. If you want to be, you don't have to join the NFL, right? We all hear, oh, he doesn't believe in just all football, and he doesn't believe that it's the end all be all. If you're a professional football player, if you're a professional quarterback who's going to make millions, who's the captain, the most important player on any American sports team, yes, it's important. I don't get it. I haven't heard LeBron say, oh, well, basketball is not the only thing for me. As crazy as KD is in basketball and all the things that he says off the field, I've never heard him say, I don't play. Well, actually, he did say he doesn't play for a championship. He just plays to be the best of what it is. But, Kevin Durant, it's definitely something else, especially when talking to the media and talking to people outside of the NFL and the NBA. But when you look at all these other players, we see the actual blueprint, right? And it's not talent. Talent can take you so far in the NFL. Guess what? Everyone is talented in the NFL. It is what it is. And it's just something that's absolutely crazy to me, that not only would he think this, but he would literally say this publicly. I don't care enough about the Super Bowl. I think that's absolutely asinine. I think it's definitely absolutely crazy. When you look at the blueprint, right? Nobody wants to compare anybody to Tom Brady, right? And they shouldn't. But there's a blueprint, right? What is the Patriot way? Most people are like, oh, no, we can't win. We don't have the Patriot way here. We're not the Patriots. What is the Patriot way? is don't cause distractions. Don't be distracted. Play your absolute hardest and do your job. That is the Patriot way. We've seen this for many years, right? We saw this with Tom Brady. He opened his doors up to us. Now, I know that the Facebook series, most people didn't like it or whatever. Most people don't like Tom Brady. But the end of all beings is Tom Brady in the NFL because he wins every year. Let me read this to you, right? Who won the Super Bowl last year? Literally a few months ago. Oh, that's right. It was Tom Brady. Right? He didn't go to the Super Bowl in 2020, right? The year before last year. But guess who was in the Super Bowl in 2019, the year before? Oh, that's right. The Patriots. And guess what? Tom Brady. And guess who won that game? Tom Brady. Right? And okay. That doesn't matter. It's only been 3 years, right? Let's go to 2018. Who was in the Super Bowl in 2017? Sorry, 2017. Oh, that's right. The Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. Right? Who was the quarterback? Tom Brady. He didn't win, but he made it to the Super Bowl. Oh, that's right. Okay, so that's only 4 years. That doesn't matter. Right? Okay, let's go back to 2017, right? 2016 season. But 2017, the day, February 5th, 2017. Guess who was in the Super Bowl? I'll let you guess. Tom Brady. Okay, 2015 season. Okay, we're not going to count that because he didn't make it. Right, but guess what? 2014. Guess who was in the Super Bowl? Tom Brady. You can't say Super Bowl without talking to Tom Brady, without speaking of Tom Brady. Right? Since 2010, Tom Brady has been in the Super Bowl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Since 2010. Right? And 2010 was the first time that Aaron Rodgers went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. All applause to him. So that's for a perspective, right? Aaron Rodgers, since 2010, 1 Super Bowl appearance, 1 Super Bowl win. Tom Brady, since 2010, you have, let me count this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He lost to the, 2011, I think. 2011, he lost to the Giants, right? So that's 1 loss. He beat the Seattle Seahawks. That's 1 win. He beat the Atlanta Falcons. That's 2 wins. He lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's 2 losses. That's 2-2. He beat the Rams. That's 3 wins. And he, on the Buccaneers team, beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That's 4 wins. So that's a little perspective for you in the Super Bowl era since 2010. Right? If you were born in 2010, you'd be 11 years old. Since your 11-year-old was born, Tom Brady has been to the Super Bowl 6 times, won 4 times. Guess who hasn't been to the Super Bowl since 2010? Aaron Rodgers. 2010 season, went to the Super Bowl. Last time he went to the Super Bowl. Since 2010 season, Big Ben hasn't gone to the Super Bowl. You see where talent can get you, and you see what happens afterwards. Since 2010, the season 2010, Drew Brees hasn't gone to the Super Bowl. He won the 2009 Super Bowl, but not since 2010, right? And Drew Brees puts attention and puts forth the effort and work ethic to get to the New Orleans Saints to the Super Bowl, right? We saw the actual blueprint. It's hard work. Tom Brady gives his kids 1 hour of his day during the NFL season. Can you imagine being a child and looking at your dad only for an hour, actually spending time with him for a day? As a kid, you would hate it, right? And then as a kid, you would understand. But as a grown person, once you get older, once you obtain success, you would understand a little bit more. Wow. That's what it took to be greatness. I took a back seat for greatness. Now, most kids won't understand that. Some kids won't understand that after they grow old, right? That's because it's unfathomable. Jeff Bezos spent his entire life on Amazon, especially in the very beginning, right? Because this is Trevor Lawrence's it's going to be his first season. He hasn't been an NFL pro for so long, right? We saw Big Ben have success in the first few seasons. And then his talent, that's as far his talent got him, right? We saw Aaron Rodgers get to the Super Bowl in 2010, 11 years ago. We saw how far the talent got him. That's one Super Bowl. We see Tom Brady pick 199. Literally cannot even touch Trevor Lawrence's ankles in projection, talent, hype. And yet Tom Brady, with his effort, has gotten to 6 Super Bowls, 4 wins, 2 losses in the last 10, 11 years. The blueprint is there. The problem is nobody wants to do it, right? Why do these great companies exist? Why do they emerge? They don't emerge out of nowhere. We saw Elon Musk, probably one of the biggest names in the business industry or even in the regular world right now, sleeping in his office whenever Tesla was finally about to take off. What's necessary, what you're obsessed with, that's what takes off. And sometimes it doesn't work, right? We've seen hard workers who are talented just not work. We've seen companies that were expected to take off, expected to work and have the amazing blueprint that was necessary that most business plans don't have, most businesses don't have, fail. It's not a foolproof plan. But to show up and not have the wherewithal to put forth your full effort. Imagine if your manager just didn't care about his job. Imagine if your older brother didn't care. Because this is what you have to look at. There's 53 guys in the locker room, right? Including Trevor Lawrence during a regular season. You're telling me 52 guys all don't care about winning as much as Trevor Lawrence? That's a complete lie. It has to come within. And if it doesn't start with the quarterback, where does it stop? What an NFL locker room is so undervalued in is the atmosphere. It's the aura. Right? We saw Tom Brady flipping out during the beginning of the season this year. Right? He wasn't name blaming. He wasn't making a scene. He was just flipping out because things weren't getting done. And before, it was accepted, right? We saw what happened with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Jameis Winston looked like he was having the time of his life, losing. Right? We saw him do the W and eat dubs and, throw for so many yards and 30 touchdowns. And we saw all of that with our own eyes. But you know what the difference was? To Tom Brady, losing wasn't acceptable. To Tom Brady, you are not going to outwork him. You're not going to out-scheme him. You're not going to out-prepare for him. Because he puts in forth the effort and has the talent enough to get it done. We see all this around. We see what talent gets around you. We see what talent gets you. We saw, I believe it was Levante David. That was a report that he was crying after the NFC Championship game, after winning. And Tom Brady looked at him and said, "We're not done here." Something around those lines, right? That's the culture that you need. To Tom Brady, Pro Bowls aren't good, right? To Tom Brady, not winning the Super Bowl is failure. And you're telling me to Trevor Lawrence, who's projected to go number 1 overall, and, one of the most higher rated quarterbacks of all time. He's like, oh, okay, if we lose, we lose. If we win, we win. No. Because you know what that is? That's a recipe for disaster. I'm not saying he's not going to be a good quarterback. And I'm not saying that mentality can't change. But if it stays the same, if you're not able to instill the need to win, the need to have your players around you look up to you, right? Because there's going to be someone on that roster making $100,000 a year, $250,000 a year, $300,000, $4,000, no matter what, $1 million a year. That's going to care more than your quarterback, the captain of the team, making $40-45 million a year. That's unacceptable. That's a recipe for disaster. I never saw New Orleans Saints look bad at Drew Brees. I've never seen anybody talk bad about Drew Brees. I've seen people talk bad about Aaron Rodgers. I've seen people talk bad about Big Ben. Big Ben's idea of a workout in the offseason is a case of beer and a yoga session. That's not hard work. And we've seen what happened. You understand. If you just go back and look at the highlights, not even the full game. Big Ben is younger than Tom Brady by a lot. And I know we're going to say Big Ben is still old, and I understand that football standards wise, he is up there in age. But if you look at where he is now and the drop off that he's had, he's 39. He's 39 years old. I believe that's 1 year older than Aaron Rodgers. And I'll look that up definitely for you guys. Tom Brady's 43. That's a 4-year difference. Let that sink in. It's insane. It's insane. Big Ben can't throw over 5 yards. And Tom Brady's still throwing dots in the end zone to Scotty Miller 60 yards away. That's the difference. And I just don't want to keep on piling on. It's just you see the blueprint. There's so many people out there who have aspirations, who have dreams to become somebody. They just don't. Right? Some people like sleeping in. They prefer sleep than success. I know there's a famous quote that came out in one of the movies. I think it was Coach Carter. I'm absolutely very sorry if I got the movie wrong, but it goes on to say, we're not afraid of our darkness as much as we are afraid of our light. And I know I butchered that, but you guys understand what I'm saying. And it goes back to truth, right? As a younger person, I didn't understand that phrase until I saw it within myself. Those few times where I could have done something to improve my life, but chose not to do it. Whether it's raising my hand because I know the answer, but I don't want the attention. I don't want people looking at me in class. Whether it's missing an opportunity because I just didn't want to wake up early. It's moments like those that really, really get you thinking, where you do a self-evaluation on where I want to be. And Trevor Lawrence, according to him, he's a grown man now, right? He's already married. He what else did you expect for somebody like Trevor Lawrence? He's young, but he's a grown man. And I'm sure that he's done his own evaluations. He's 21 years old. He's done his own evaluations on what he's going to do. And you look at what's going on, and it seems to me that he's set on his ways, that he just doesn't care enough. And that's something that you don't realize until you're faced with adversity. Guess what, Trevor Lawrence? People in the NFL are not going to be as bad as all the other teams you played in collegiate football. They're talented. Because those people you were facing in collegiate football, not all of them make it in the NFL. NFL is probably one of the most exclusive leagues where you are the absolute best compared to any other league, compared to any other, stage in your football career, right? There's a huge drop off from college and high school, but that huge drop off is nothing compared to the college to the NFL chasm in between. And Trevor Lawrence is going to get hit. He's not going to a great team. He's not going to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team who have the talent. They just don't know how to harness it. They don't understand how to win. Right? And that would have been bad. I think if Trevor Lawrence had gone to the Buccaneers last season, it would not have gone good. You can't have talent and expect to be winning because you have that talent. And like I said, we've seen this everywhere. Talent can only take you so far, and sometimes it does take you to the finish line. We saw Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl, but it's not sustainable, right? You can't be great for a season, because once you become great for a season, the expectation is now on your shoulders to continue that expectation. Next, we've seen Fitzmagic having an excellent regular season, and then they sign him to a big deal. They're saying you're going to be the starting quarterback of this NFL team, and he falls because of the expectation. There's going to be expectation on Trevor Lawrence. And guess what? Those fans are not going to be appreciative if you're just lollygagging and laughing and okay with losing. Because they've been used to losing, right? There's a difference between being numb to losing and enjoying losing and not caring about losing. Right? The Jacksonville Jaguars are on the highest of highs as of now because they are getting their opportunity of getting their star quarterback, their Tom Brady, their Peyton Manning. Right? And like I said, Peyton Manning, another good excuse, on another good reason on why obsession and why you're given an ability, and if you don't make the most out of it, you're going to be left nowhere. You're not the most talented quarterback in the NFL. You're not going to be the most talented quarterback in the NFL. We've seen Patrick Mahomes. We've seen his talent take him so far as of right now. Right? 3 years in the league, 1 Super Bowl. 1 Super Bowl appearance, 1 loss. Right? You look at what's going to happen next. Patrick Mahomes getting a big pay cut, a big paycheck. They're going to be losing. They've already lost a few good players. The expectation is going to be there. Whether you live up to it or you don't, that's something entirely different. And I just think that's absolutely, absolutely crazy. I hope Trevor Lawrence is able to understand. I wish the best to the Jacksonville Jaguar fans. I know Urban Meyer is absolutely win at all costs coach. I would absolutely, and that's probably most people are not going to agree with me, but I would absolutely take offense to what he said. If I am not offense, but I would just look into, what do you mean? And at least don't tell me to my face about a week or two away from being drafted, right? Those out there, you wouldn't go up to your employer or your future employer who you just got a job offered to, right? You did the interview, you did great, they offered you a deal, and instead of responding yes or maybe countering, you're like, okay, just FYI, this company's not going to be all to me, right? I don't want a promotion. I'm not going to try hard enough to get a promotion. That commission check at the end, I'm not going to work hard enough for it. Just don't give it to me no more. You're going to cause serious red flags. And this is what we're talking about, right? This is something that we're talking about now because it is a red flag. It is a huge red flag if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you mean winning a Super Bowl is not your end goal? You're playing in the NFL. There is no other end goal. Not in the NFL. If you want to, we see Juju Smith-Schuster trying to build his brand and continuing to build his brand, and that's great. right? But your performance on the field has to be on par. We see he's doing great on TikTok. And when we look at the game, his numbers are down. He's not producing at the same level he was with AB at number 1. And now you look at Trevor Lawrence. Yes, you can have more success in your personal life because success is very, very, very according to your point of view, right? Some people believe that having a family is success. Some people, believe that spending time with your family is success. Some people believe having the most friends is success. Some people believe that having the most followers on Facebook, Instagram, whatever is success. And to Trevor Lawrence, who's a professional football player, or going to be, you sure as heck need to know where his priority lies, where his aspiration lies, and just overall what's going to happen. So if I were the Jacksonville Jaguars, I know it's a big take, but I'm definitely trading him, because I can't trust a quarterback who is going to lead my team and yet not care if you win or lose. So that's just something that I can't see. I can't hire anybody. If I were to, create my own business and be successful at what I do, I wouldn't be able to hire somebody who is, no matter how honest. And I agree, it's something that's great because he was honest, but it's negative, right? It's like I said, I already brought this up, the corner or the DB for the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, don't say it. Not publicly. We understand that your position doesn't have substitutions in the NFL. And that's something that most people did not understand and were brought into the light of, because of that saying, or because of that quote. But you brought the negative light, and you got the big red flag placed on your shoulders because you were the one to say it. Right? If you had gone to a podcast and be like, okay, our players aren't, or our DBs, we don't get the substitutions that we would like to have, like the defensive line, like the linebackers, or actually the linebackers actually don't either. So I'm sorry for that, but it's just something that you can't put it in context, and the way you did it was wrong. So I just don't think it came out wrong. I don't think it's going to be a good idea. I would definitely consider trading him away, just because I don't understand where it's going to go from here. If you're okay with losing, go lose in another franchise and be okay with that. If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars and I just want the big name, then draft him. But if I'm somewhere where even the Patriots, where they're so used to winning, right? Where you used to, now the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not okay with losing anymore, right? Before Patrick Mahomes, if Alex Smith had gone to the Super Bowl and lost, it would have been a little bit more acceptable. But guess what? It's not no more, right? And that's something that the Jacksonville Jaguars have to be wary of, because guess what? Like I said, expectations. If the Jaguars are, they get success and they, get to the playoffs and they win a game or they lose or no matter what, the fans are going to come to get used to that, right? We see, even in soccer, something that's so different from the NFL, kind of, with Barcelona, right? We saw them get shellacked by Bayern Munich. And if you're not a soccer fan, you don't have to be, because this was major news no matter what. I think they lost like 6-0, 6-1. I don't know. It was awful. But we saw the ripple effect because they're not used to losing so horribly. They may not have won, but they were never used to getting shellacked like they did. And like I said, expectation. Right? I think they fired the GM, or they fired somebody. Right? That's what happened. So if I was the GM and I see my quarterback and I'm like, okay, well, I need you to be invested in this. He's like, maybe. I got other things to do. I got families. And like I said, if you're his mother, if you're his father, that's something that you would love to hear. Right? But if you're the business owner, if you're somebody in the company and you have that employee or future employee say, this isn't the end all be all. Right? Because this isn't a job at Target. Right? This isn't a job at McDonald's. This isn't a job at Amazon. This is NFL, where you're making millions The second he walks on stage and accepts that jersey, he's already made, I believe the expectation, I think the projection is going to be like $25 million in signing bonus. What? And you're not fully invested? You better be. I'm paying you $25 million off the bat. And you're okay with losing? You're okay with, oh, well, it's not the end all. If we lose, we lose. We win. No, that's not okay. I just think in any other circumstance, and especially if you're a family member or friend, this is something you want to hear. But as a fan, as somebody who's seen the blueprint, who has the blueprint there, there's so many people who are not in shape that look at people who are in shape and be like, oh, Jesus, if only I had his abs, or if only I had her abs, or if only, I had the gym inside my house and I would work out more. That just doesn't work. Right? And we see that with Tom Brady. And I know I'm, raving about Tom Brady, but it's fact. I didn't pull those Super Bowl appearances out of nowhere. They happened. No one else has those numbers. No one else comes near those numbers. Tom Brady in the last 10 years, and if you split his career in half, has the same number of Super Bowls as Joe Montana and has more appearances. And he's the second one that comes close to Tom Brady. So that's just an absolute absurd number, but you have to take consideration. You have to look at cold-heartedly facts over feelings. Tom, successful. If you work at some place and you want to move up, look at the most successful person and see what he does or she does or whatever does, right? This is something that you have to take in consideration. Don't take the bad habits from them. Look what they're doing. Look what you're doing. Self-assess and look at why. Maybe he puts in, or maybe they put in an extra hour of work every day. Maybe they understand how to successfully kiss up to management better than you. Maybe they understand better personal relationships or work relationships with their coworkers. There's something that you're not doing that they are, for the reason why they're ahead of you. And guess what? Not caring is not the answer. So I definitely disagree with Trevor Lawrence. Like I said, I would absolutely be very concerned if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, if I'm Urban Meyers, if I'm the GM. And this came from family members. It didn't come from, an ex-trainer from high school, or, an ex-girlfriend from high school, or this came out from their dad, their wife, his dad, his head coach in high school. These are all players who were around him. These are all players that saw him up and close and personal. And these were, unfortunately, people who blurted this out literally about a week and a half from the NFL draft. So I wasn't sold on Trevor Lawrence before. I don't think he's the for sure answer. I don't think he's 100% can't miss prospect. Because I don't think there has been one. I just don't see it, right? I just don't see it. So if I was the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would absolutely trade or be open to trade, especially if there's something that absolutely knocks the ball out of the park. And it's something that you have to look at. You saw Houston Texans, they wanted to hold on to Deshaun Watson. Something else happened, took precedent. I know that's a separate issue, isolated issue, and that's something that we don't expect or understand. That's probably not going to happen with Trevor Lawrence, and I hope it doesn't happen with Trevor Lawrence. But the longer you wait, more things can happen. So definitely something to take in consideration. And oh my gosh, okay, so 54 minutes in, I think we're good. I think if you guys have been listening, so thank you very much. And we're gonna speed round the next few topics because I did go on a little rant, especially about Trevor Lawrence, and it's absolutely had to be talking about it. Ex-Steelers tackle Alejandro Villanueva is visiting the Ravens today. I know I touched on it a little bit earlier. Definitely signed. He's definitely been a pretty good tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Signed in Pittsburgh for 2014 after getting cut by the Eagles. So it's just something that's definitely something to consider. I know that the Orlando Brown situation in the Ravens locker room is something that's hanging over their head. And this is why they're definitely looking to Villanueva because of the situation. If you guys didn't know, Orlando Brown has asked officially their team to be traded. And that's something that most reporting is expecting to happen during the draft. I don't know. I hope he does. I hope he gets somewhere where he feels appreciated because that's what this is all about. I believe that he wanted to stay at left tackle but was asked to be on the right side. So it's just something that, he probably wanted to be in a different position and was not appreciated taken account in. So it's just something that I hope Orlando Brown finds a good spot. I hope that the Ravens get a good tackle to replace. So I think Villanueva would definitely be a good spot, especially if they can get him on a handsome price. So I think that's definitely something that should definitely improve them. Sticking with the Ravens, the GM said it's insulting to say Baltimore doesn't have any wide receivers. Unfortunately, it's just fact, man. It's facts over feelings, and that's something that you always have to take in consideration. Like I said, this is something where it just happens, right? It just happens. So it's just something that you have to look at. You have to take in consideration, and you just have to accept no matter what. And it is what it is. When you look at where they are, especially in the offensive side, I know they signed Sammy Watkins. He wasn't the answer in Kansas City. He wasn't the answer in Buffalo. And it's just something that you always have to take in consideration. And that's something that hasn't happened since ever, right? You look at the Baltimore Ravens, you see where they are in passing. You see where they are in a lot of categories, right? So it's just not something that, the total offensive yards came out to 5,810. So pretty good, but not the rest. 3,000 of those yards came from rushing. 2,739 came from passing. So it's not like it's the best. They have an okay roster. If you look at the wide receivers up and down, like I said, you just signed Sammy Watkins. He was supposed to be a good player, but he's been in the league 8 years, has never broken the 1,000 yard marker. So it's just something you have to look at. You have Marquise Brown, who's definitely a burner, but has not been utilized correctly, and we saw that because he himself publicly tweeted, I believe it was a tweet, a cryptic tweet saying, you're not utilizing me correctly. And that's something that has to be taken into consideration because Lamar Jackson has not been throwing the ball as much as he possibly could. And I'm not saying that he can't because I just said he could. So it's just something that you always have to take in consideration when you're looking at the Ravens and where they are. They are a run-first offense. They're a run-first team. They always have been, and they probably will always be unless they get the GM out of there, unless they get the head coach out of there, something that's probably not going to happen unless they have a failure of a season. You look at the division, they have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think are definitely going to fall off, especially with Big Ben not being the great Big Ben that we've seen in the past few years. I think the Browns have stepped up their game entirely. They have the most stacked team in that division and possibly, can rival other teams in the AFC or even in the NFL entirely because of just their roster positions. Position by position, I think they have a really good stacked team. You have the Cincinnati Bengals. They have their quarterback. They just don't have the roster. Can they pull off something good in the NFL draft, in the NFL free agency, which is still going on? Like I said, there's so many free agents still available. I think that the Ravens definitely have a tough way to go. I think that they definitely need to expand their playbook, throw the ball as much as you run the ball, or even more, right? So it's something that has to happen. And I think Lamar Jackson is ready to take the next step, and I think he should, and I think he absolutely needs to. Moving on, we have the Kansas City head coach Andy Reid saying the door will remain open for possible Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher return. Now, this is something that a lot of people had their head scratching, especially because they saw the Super Bowl, right? We all saw Patrick Mahomes struggling in the Super Bowl, and we all saw post-game everybody who could speak, who had a voice, who was a fan, who wasn't a fan, who just was a Patrick Mahomes fan, understand that, the reason why they lost was because of the pressure and because of the offensive line. They didn't have their 2 starting tackles. Well, they just released them, right? We saw that happen, I believe it was like a month after. So it's just something that definitely is interesting whenever most people were looking at. I know Fisher tore an Achilles, so he might not come back as, 100% like he will, but it's definitely something that was huge because of the excuse of not having them, even though they did not have them for a majority of the season. So it's just something that happened that really shocked people, and now that they're being released, I'm sure that they would definitely have them come back, but definitely at a huge major price reduction. So I think that's something that's good. I think Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher could definitely go somewhere else and maybe make a little bit more of an impact. Like I said, I think that, they are coming both out of injury. So I think that's something you always have to take in consideration. I think if the price tag is properly good enough, I think that they would make a huge addition for a team. So definitely something to be on the lookout. They're still relatively in their prime, especially for offensive tackles or offensive linemen. So it's just something that you always have to look at. But it's definitely interesting to see that the Kansas City Chiefs are opening to regain the players that they themselves cut. So it's just something interesting. Definitely something to look at, keep an eye out. So it's just, it is what it is. We have the Dolphins receiving multiple offers for their number 6 overall pick. That must be interesting. So they definitely gave up a lot. They were given a lot to move back, especially in their position at number 3. I know San Francisco mortgaged a farm to get the number 3 overall spot. Definitely an interesting topic by itself. But you get the number 3 spot, you go back into the number 12, and you give up one of the first round picks that you got from the San Francisco 49ers to the Eagles to move back up to number 6. Now, number 6 is definitely an interesting topic because of the position where it is. Like I said, it's expected to be 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 3 overall picks. Number 4, that's a what if. Number 5, definitely not, kind of a bit what if. It's a lower what if because you understand that it's not going to be a quarterback if the Cincinnati Bengals stay where they are, right? And then you have the number 6 overall pick. Now that's something intriguing because you do have Miami Dolphins right there. If I were them, I would. If I believe in Tua, and I'm them, I would move back. Right at number 6, it depends on what I'm willing to get. It depends on what I'm going to get for them, right? Because at number 6, it's potential that Sewell and Pitts could potentially still be there at number 6, right? And we've seen reports the Dallas Cowboys are absolutely infatuated. Jerry Jones is infatuated with Kyle Pitts. If they're going to, give you another farm to move from 6 to 10, you get a good cornerback or you get a good player at number 10. And you still get maybe 1 or 2 first round picks in the future, I would absolutely take that because you have too many holes where you are. You can still move back, maybe get Jamar Chase, maybe get one of the Devontae Smith. So it's just somewhere where weapons are still there, especially in the top 15 because of the quarterback position being so heavily guarded this draft, right? Normally, most drafts have 1 or 2 quarterbacks that are going to be potentially taken in the first 10 overall picks. And that definitely keeps an eye out for the other positions, right? We see, defensive ends going, we see defensive linemen, we see safeties, corners, wide receivers, running backs, offensive linemen, always taken a lot of. So now with the quarterbacks, maybe 5 in the top 10, that's 5 less players at different positions that are going to be taken. So it's just something that's interesting. I think if they truly believe in Tua, I would definitely consider moving back, especially if someone's willing up to give you the farm. I know Washington football team, they need a quarterback. What are they willing to give up to get to number 6 overall pick? You have Dallas, who's infatuated with Kyle Pitts. What would they give up to get all the way to number 6? You have the Patriots. What are they going to do? I think I have a plan for the Patriots. I'll definitely get into that tomorrow, so stay tuned for what they should do if Bill Belichick wants Jimmy G. So it's just something that you always have to consider. So if they're going to move up, if they're a team that's going to move up, you have the number 6 overall pick. It's very intriguing because, like I said, there's so many quarterbacks taken in the first round. Who else is going to be left at number 6? So if I'm Miami and I believe in Tua, I definitely move back, get a farm, and definitely build around Tua. Last and not least, the Cincinnati Bengals released their new uniforms. I have to say I'm not the biggest fans. I think it's pretty repetitive. I think if I look at their old uniforms in 2020, let me look this up to have them side-by-side comparison. I know you guys can't see me because it's a podcast only, but definitely look into it if you definitely want to. So let me see their uniform. There you go, looking it up. If you guys want some ASMR of my keyboard, let me know. Just kidding. Actually, not that, just kidding. But so it's pretty similar. You have the orange uniform. They had, their orange uniform had the orange helmets. If I look at the new uniforms, they have the same orange helmets with the stripes on the top of their head, which is still pretty fire to me. Their orange jerseys now remove the white stripe they have on the side. So it's not anything crazy. You have the same stripes on the shoulder pads. You have the same numbers. I think the numbers are outlined maybe a little bit different. You have the pants stay the same. You look at the white uniform. Their white uniform, I see a picture of Joe Burrow with the black stripes. Maybe the one that's the biggest stripe is not there. Maybe on the old uniform it used to be multiple stripes instead of one big stripe and then two little small stripes. I don't see the big adjustment. Like I said, I think they just removed the stripes on their side of the jersey. I think they look good. I just don't think it's a big adjustment. I don't think it's something that's huge or revamping. It's not like the Rams who just adjusted their logo about a year ago. So it's just something that's interesting. Definitely look good. I'm excited to see what the Cincinnati Bengals do in the draft. I'm excited to see what they do in the NFL. And I'm just overall excited to see this upcoming season. So thank you guys for sticking in and tuning in. Definitely something to look forward to, but thank you guys for staying on to the end of the podcast. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and make sure to subscribe, to hit the like button, or to even, follow me on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts on. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.